Welcome back to the channel, guys. I figured it's about time to put a face to the channel. Today we're going to show you how to make some really cool little swim baits, but first I have a really exciting announcement. So I have teamed up with the guys over at Barlow's Tackle. I am now an affiliate member of theirs. So if you purchase anything through them using my code, which I'll link right here, or my affiliate link down in the description, it will directly help the channel. Anything you guys purchase using my code or affiliate link will directly give me a commission in the form of store credit. With that being said, if you guys are using my codes or anything, please let me know what you would like to see on the channel, because anything that I get, I'm going to directly give back to you guys in the form of showing you guys new products from them, or something you're curious about. I'll definitely pick it up and show you guys so you can see it firsthand prior to buying it yourself. Thank you guys for everything that you've done. Because of you, one of you, when you purchase something through Barlow's, let them know that you found it based on my video. They checked out the channel, they liked what we were doing, and Mr. Matt reached out to us about this affiliate program. So thank you guys again for everything that you've done. Now, with all that being covered, I got some really cool things to show you, and I can't wait to get started, so let's get to it. So here we have a Megabass OKASHIRA head. It's a little Finesse swimbait head with a blade on the back of it. This is a fantastic little option for Finesse swimbaits. My only complaint with these is they only offer these in a handful of color options and weight options as well. Now, what I have been doing in the past is using this little freestyle jig head, putting my blade on it and making whatever I want. However, what I've been thinking after this new iCast release is trying this out with the new Finesse swimbait head that Do It Molds came out with. So you can see how much closer profile-wise this swimbait head is going to be to this OKASHIRA head. So I wanted to try these out, as well as show you guys how you can make your own. We got our lead pot plugged in. We're going to get everything heated up, and then we'll get to pouring. While we're waiting on the lead to melt, I'm going to show you what you need. You need the 10111 Victory hooks. I'm going to use the 1/0 size today. You're going to need cup washers. You're going to need beads, or you could use bobber stoppers in replacement of these, and I'll show you that later. You're going to need whatever your blade of choice is going to be. I like to use these little wire keepers to tie my bait keeper, or you could use thick monofilament line for that. But these are the extra components you need. We'll have it all linked down below, but we're going to get to pouring. Our lead is hot and ready to go. The only thing with making these that's different from normal, as you can see, I don't have the screw lock in there. I just lay my hook in the mold. We're going to be making the 1/8 ounce sizes today. You will have a little bit of lead that'll flash out where that screw lock does go, but you can just clip that off, clean it up, and you're good to go. We got our heads all poured up. You can see right here on the bottom that little piece of flashing that I was talking about. All you got to do is when you're clipping your sprues off, get those all clipped off. Just come back here, clip off that little tag end right there. And all we're going to do now is file the end of that smooth, and then we're ready to powder coat. For today's colors, we're going to do 3 different color patterns. The first one is going to be a white pearl belly with the magic crawl blue on the top. The second color is just going to be Go Time. And then the third color is going to be candy blue on the top and candy yellow on the bottom. We're going to get these powder coated, and then we'll check them out. We got these powder coated. Now, one extra step that I do is I'll take my X-Acto knife and I'll scrape all the powder coat off of the hook shank before I bake it, because what that does is it cleans that hook off. So the area of the hook where the blade is sitting and spinning, it doesn't have that powder coat and that rougher finish to kind of slow it down. It'll be a little more free spinning. It's not a necessary step, but it is one that I prefer to do. You can do it if you want. But we're going to throw these in the oven, get them baked. We'll throw the eyes on, and then I'll show you how to tie them up. So we got those jig heads powder coated. We got our eyeballs glued on there. Now, what you need to do before you put this in your vise is test fit all your components. So we got our cup washers, our beads, our blades, and our wire forms. For our wire form, I just took one of these long wire forms and cut it off just to create these little short ones. And The wire forms and all the components I'll have linked down in the description. You don't have to worry about trying to remember where they're from. But we're going to take our little J-head. We're going to take the first washer and thread it on. Now keep in mind, if you're using any bigger size hooks, the barb on the hook may prevent the washer from sliding on. So what you're going to have to do is either flatten your barb just a little or widen out the hole in the washer. Now, one thing that is slightly different from, from the freestyle head that I use. So the freestyle head, you can see the shape of the head sticks out kind of far behind the hook eye, where this one doesn't. It's pretty flat. Now, where that's going to come into play, if I were to put one washer on and then the blade, like I do the other ones, you can see that blade comes in contact with the hook eye a little bit. Now, when you're pulling it through the water is going to keep that blade pulled back just a little, so I don't think you would have problems with it hitting. But for this purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use an additional washer. So I'm going to stack up 2 washers behind the head of that jig just to give the blade a little bit more room so I don't have to worry about it hitting the hook eye. I'm going to put on my blade. Now, when you put on the washer behind it, you're going to put it on the opposite direction of the first 2. So you can see there, now you have your blade in between those cupped washers. We're going to put our bead on behind that. I like using a bead, if I can get this on there. I like using a bead because I feel like it kind of sits up in that cup washer really nice. I like the way that works better than using a bobber stop, just my personal preference. But once you have your cup washers, your blade, and your bead on in place, you are ready to put this thing in the vise. Now, a couple additional things you are going to need, or what I recommend, is some brush-on super glue and some of the Loon Hardhead Clear, and I'll show you why I recommend using those once we get to tying. So let's get to the vise. All right, so we're going to start tying. We're going to use our Danville's 210 denier flat wax nylon. Now what I like to do is just loosely pull the thread up to the base of that bead and then start getting my base layer going. I'm going to go fairly far down the shank of the hook just because you got to remember your wire bait keeper is going to be on there. Now what I do, once I go down the hook, I'm going to snip off my tag end. This is where the brushable super glue comes into play. I'm going to take some of this, and you don't need a lot, but since you're tying on a real small hook like this, you don't have the lead bait keeper that you're typically tying around. I want to give something extra for that thread to grab onto. So I'm going to put some of that super glue on there, run my thread back up towards the front. I'm going to go back across it a couple times just to make sure that super glue gets good and locked in. And now this is one of the a little more critical components when you go to tie. So you don't want to just run your thread all the way up and wedge it up against the head of that hook, because then your blade won't be able to turn very free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly work forward until that blade still has a little bit of wiggle so that it can spin freely. And then I'm just going to build up a little, it's basically a thread blocker to where it can't slide back. You can see I can't move the blade or the bead backwards, and it still has plenty of room to spin freely. And that's just going to prevent that bead from trying to go backwards. So once you get that all locked in, and you have it all in place, you're ready to tie on your little wire bait keeper. So let me see if you guys can see that. It's just that little bitty loop, and I'm going to hold it on the bottom of the hook, which is actually going to be the top side. I'm going to get several rotations going around that. Get it all nice and done. Then I'm going to go behind it and build up a little bit of basically a thread lock over there. Go back down across it. Make sure you cover it up really well. I'm gonna go back down, and then usually what I do is I'll tie my knot behind the bait keeper. Whoops. So I'm going to tie the knot back there, cinch it down, cut off my tag end, and now this is where I'll flip it over and I'll use my Loon Hardhead Clear. If I can get the lid off of this thing, I haven't used it in a little while. And I'm going to take this Hardhead Clear and put a pretty generous coating on all those threads just to kind of lock it down. I put a pretty good glob on it, and then I'll try to dry the brush off a little bit and use that to smear it all the way around those threads. And if you can see right where that bait keeper's at, a little bit of that's building up underneath. Just take your brush and kind of wipe it out. And that's really all you got to do. Now, if you have a turner for like painting crankbaits and clear coating, you can use that. Or what I like to do, I'll grab my little cardboard box and I'll show you what I use. I take a little scrap cardboard box. I'll take my little X-Acto knife, cut a little slot into that, and then you can set your hook down in there. You can pull it up through the edge if you want. And then we got all 6 of these tied up and they're up here curing. So in case anyone was wondering why I did this, so putting them to where the head is facing up, if there's any excess of that hardhead clear, it's going to drip down and it's not going to get up into the blade and affect the action of the blade. You want to make sure with your super glue and whatever you seal your threads with that it can't seep up into where this blade spins and prevent it from spinning. I didn't mention that when I first talked about the box, but that's the purpose of this, just so that all the excess will go down. We're going to let these cure up for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll get a closer look. There you have it, guys. That is one way to make your own version of these OKASHIRA heads. Like I said, this is the actual Megabass OKASHIRA head. This is the one that I used to make using the freestyle jig head mold. And then now we have these with the new Finesse Swimbait mold. Super cool little baits. If you guys have never used these, I recommend just go pick up a pack of these OKASHIRA heads, try it out, and see if you even like this style of bait. The one thing I talked about at the beginning that I'll show you guys now, see if I can hold these up. So look at the hook eye. So you can see how the hook eye on the ones we made is further back. It's a little more vertical compared to the Megabass one. What that's going to do with that hook eye being further back, it's going to cause the bait to wobble just side to side just a little bit more, which I think is a good thing. The other big difference in these, if you look at the blades that come on the OKASHIRA heads are a little offset, I guess you could call it. The one is a little bit bigger than the other, whereas ours, it's the same size, or the same size on either side of the blade. So I know a lot of guys will make their own blades, but I haven't used these new ones that we just made, but I've used this freestyle jig head with these blades before, and I've caught a lot of fish. They work really, really well. The 3 patterns we made today, we've just got a nice natural shad pattern with that pearl white belly and the magic crawl blue on the top. We made a couple with that Go Time powder. It's a really, really good bluegill imitation. I love using gold blades on anything that resembles a green pumpkin. Green pumpkin and gold just really, really go together, in my opinion. And then last and certainly not least, we have the blue and chartreuse with that chartreuse blade. This one is my go-to if I'm targeting smallmouth or spotted bass. I don't know, the blades in general, adding that vibration, are really good for smallmouth, but this color combo with a little blue and chartreuse paddle tail is a killer combination. Really, really like this one. And as always, guys, thanks for watching again. I really, really appreciate all the support. Huge thank you to Barlow's and those guys for helping out the channel. As I mentioned earlier, I'll have all the components that we used in today's video linked down in the description, so you don't have to worry about trying to look it all up. Super cool little jig heads. If you guys haven't used these, definitely give it a shot. Thanks for watching again. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.